Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 23, translation. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. Purport. There are multifarious miseries in material existence, those pertaining to the body and the mind, those imposed by other living entities, and those imposed by natural disturbances. But a sadhu is not disturbed by such miserable conditions because his mind is always filled with Krishna consciousness, and thus he does not like to talk about anything but the activities of the Lord. Maharaj Ambarish did not speak of anything but the pastimes of the Lord. Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18. He engaged his words only in glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sadhus are always interested in hearing about the activities of the Lord or his devotees. Since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, they are forgetful of the material miseries. Ordinary conditioned souls, being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. On the other hand, since the devotees always engaged in the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. Madashraya katamrishtaha Shrinvanti katayanti cha tapanti vividastapa naitan madgata chetasaha. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. I looked in my calendar, and according to Zurich calendar, there is application by one Russian devotee. Today is actually 26th. It's the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And it says fasting till noon, so at least... Anybody fasted yesterday till noon? No? So, anyway, if you want, you can fast today. I will do it. So Srila Prabhupada gave class on this verse in Bombay. I forgot the year. And he is extensively explaining about suffering, speaking a lot about suffering, explaining these three, Adhyatmika Klesha, Adhibhautika Klesha, Adhidharmika Klesha, explaining in detail, and then explaining how a sadhu is not suffering, even though he is situated in material world. Srila Prabhupada explained how Haridas Thakur was beaten in 22 marketplaces. He was punished because the Muslim official asked him, "Why did you become Hindu? You are chanting Hare Krishna." And Haridas Thakur said, "Oh, there is so many Hindus who became Muslims, so what's the big deal if I become a Hindu?" But of course, Haridas Thakur, he didn't consider himself a Hindu. He was a servant of the Lord, and this is universal, doesn't belong to any particular religion. So, Srila Prabhupada says he was punished to be beaten in 22 marketplaces, and he said that Lord Chaitanya took these whips on his back. So this is that, he said that actually Haridas Thakur, he didn't suffer from this beating, because Lord took it upon himself, all these whips, whipping. So can you give us an example of Adhyatmika klesha. Depression. What is Adhyatmika klesha? What kind of miseries?
Body and mind.
Body and mind. Okay, so what are bodily
No food.
problems? No food until 12. No food. So, starving. This is not the problem in the temple.
Disease.
Huh?
Disease.
Disease. Anybody of you experienced like some heavy disease? Like major? No? You're healthy. What other bodily difficulties? Do you feel any pain now in your body? Yeah? Okay. Would you share? No?
I have a question.
Question? No, question later. I'm asking questions now. Later you can ask questions. I'm just trying to make a class a little bit interactive. So pain, I feel bodily pain at the moment in different parts of my body, but it doesn't matter which parts are these. Just I remember when I hit my head. Actually, we played football as kids, and there was this goal. There is a goal, but this goal was actually movable. It was mobile. So it could fall. So we were shaking on it. It was shaking. You can shake it. It was shaking, and I was probably 6-7 years old, and it fell. It fell. This is metal bar. It's a metal bar. It fell on my head, and I had like I was blue for a month. Out of this, and it was, of course, it was painful. So sometimes devotees experience huge pain in the body also. But the more we identify with the body, the more we actually have impression of suffering. But if one doesn't identify with the body, then he doesn't suffer, or he suffers much less. Srila Prabhupada gives example of Stalin, former Russian leader. When he was operated from in the stomach something. They asked him, "Would you like anesthetic?" And he said no. But Prabhupada says this is possible if you can absorb your mind in something else. So devotees absorb their minds in Krishna's activities, Krishna's pastimes, and therefore they can also bear a lot of pain. There is one, I don't know if it's in Prabhupada Nectar or some of the biographies or remembrances of Srila Prabhupada, I don't remember where it is from, but one devotee said that the doctor checked Prabhupada's body and said that he is in so much pain that no living person could survive this. But Prabhupada, nobody could see that Prabhupada is so much physical pain. Then also one devotee embraced Srila Prabhupada and he felt so much youthful energy coming from him. So if one is absorbed on a different level, then, but if you identify with the body, like for example, if you watch a movie and you identify with the protagonists, with the actors' roles, then you practically go through everything they are going through. You're feeling everything they're feeling. When they're happy, you're happy. When they are suffering, you're suffering. Because we identify. But then our friend who is sitting beside can say, "Look, it's just a movie, don't worry." And so similarly, we also have a movie of this life. And because we identify with the body, we are very much disturbed. Another example is a car. Sometimes there is a car crash and the person comes out and said, "You hit me. Why did you hit me?" And he says, "No, you hit me." So both of them are identifying with the car. So similarly, we are identifying with the body, and we are attached to the body, and we suffer if the body is injured. What is the mental? We are still on the Adhyatmika Klesha. What is the mental pain?
Anxiety, depression.
Okay.
Envy.
What?
Envy.
What?
Envy.
Envy. Oh, envy is a pain.
Yes, it's quite disturbing.
So I think some people enjoy envy.
I think they're an illusion.
Yeah, they may be. But so envy is a pain for an honest person or somebody who knows that envy is poison. Any other? I mean, do you ever experience mental problems? I mean, mental pain?
Love failure.
Huh?
Love failure.
Failure.
Yeah, love failure.
Love failure. Failure. So emotional.
Yeah.
Thinking, feeling, and willing are three functions of the mind. So, if your girlfriend leaves you, you can actually collect trophies. How many girlfriends left you? And you can be proud of it if you are detached. If you are not attached to being loved by girls or by them staying with you. But this also you can, if you chant Hare Krishna, you can come to that level to be detached. What?
Hankering and lamentation.
Hankering and lamentation. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, "Na shochati na kamkshati." One comes to the level of not lamenting and not yearning or desiring something. And a big torture for the mind is that, oh, I want something. I want something. Yeah?
When we make something wrong and we realize after one time, oh, this was a mistake.
When you want something wrong.
When we're doing something wrong.
When you do.
When we make a mistake.
Then you feel a regret.
And after one time we realize, oh, this was wrong.
This is also mental pain. Mm-hmm. Yes, so you regret. Can you ask this please to close the door when they talk? Because it's just, I can hear everything. Or
Sorry. Yes.
They're absorbed in a Krishna debate. So there is so much mental anxiety, and there is psychiatrists, therapists, counselors who deal with people's anxiety. And we can remember the example that Srila Prabhupada gave, that in the dream you may think that tiger is eating you, but when you wake up, you see that there is no tiger. Similarly, different miseries that we experience are an illusion, and we don't have to actually suffer. In the coaching world, it is said that many people are experts in self-sabotage. And one very prominent self-sabotage is negative self-talk. Hopelessness, criticizing others, criticizing yourself. This is very painful actually. But some people like it. I had people admitting to me that they like to be depressed. Sometimes devotees get very disturbed when I speak about depression, and maybe this is because they think about some clinical depression, which I don't know even what it is, but what I mean by depression is some kind of indulgence into negative emotions, negativity. And yesterday I had an interview, recorded interview with Keshava Madhava Prabhu, and it's already published on my Facebook. He explained that you cannot just hit a person and telling them, you are killing yourself by this kind of thinking. But we have to help them to come gradually to understanding that they are their own. Prabhupada said, we are our own worst enemy. They are actually torturing themselves. By the way they think, by the way they see things, by the way they explain to themselves what is happening. So the greatest problem is not what we experience, the greatest problem is how we interpret it. At least this is my understanding and my experience in life. How we interpret what is happening. Because the same event, one person can interpret in this way and the other person in that way. For example, one man was sent by his boss from America to Africa to explore, is there a market for shoes? And one of this boss's employees went, and he called his boss and he said, "Boss, here there is no market for shoes because everybody walks barefoot." So he came back. But the boss was not sure that this is the good assessment. He sent another representative who came and saw the same situation. He says, "Boss, we have a great market for shoes because nobody has shoes." So the same situation perceived with different eyes brings different understanding, different interpretation, and different results, different opportunities. Srila Prabhupada also mentions in this lecture Queen Kunti. She felt that suffering is a great opportunity to do what? Do you remember?
To remember Krishna.
Yes, to remember Krishna. So, I always speak about problem opportunity, and sometimes devotees problem that every problem is an opportunity, and then sometimes devotees ask me, where is this in the scriptures? So this is one example where Queen Kunti sees problem as an opportunity. Another is also in Bhagavad Gita 2:32, where Krishna says to Arjuna, rare is the opportunity given to a kshatriya to fight for the right cause. So you're fighting, you consider to be a problem, but actually it's an opportunity. So if you have a problem in your life right now, any kind of problem, try to see it as an opportunity. Ask yourself, okay, what are the hidden blessings here? What are the hidden opportunities in this problem? And you will get some interesting answers from the Super Soul in your heart. Then, adibautika klesha, problems from other living entities. Who is giving you trouble at the moment? You may say, usually it's my mind. Not many people are giving me trouble. Srila Prabhupada often mentions mosquitoes as aggressors, like from the adibautika klesha category. There may be, Srila Prabhupada also mentions that our movement has enemies and then they make trouble. And then Adidaivika Klesha, which maybe you don't experience so much in Switzerland, because Switzerland probably has quite good karma. But in other places, like now I think Indonesia, they are waiting for tsunami, new tsunami. And in America, every year they have hurricanes and they blow houses away. And I never can understand why they make these wooden houses which are easily blown away by the wind. Some people understood after like 100 years that they should not have wooden houses but brick houses, because brick houses stand. Most of them stand. Make stronger walls. But they have these wooden houses and they are blown away by the wind. And then they lament, oh, this hurricane Katrina has blown away our house. So we have extensive rain, we have winds, we have earthquakes, tsunamis. Yesterday we read from the Bhagavad Gita that devotee in the 12th chapter, verses 13 and 14 in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that devotee is not disturbed. In the 15th verse also, Krishna explains that one who is not disturbed is dear to me. So simply by not being disturbed, you can be dear to Krishna. But it's so hard. In Kali Yuga, there is so many disturbances, it's so hard not to be disturbed. So how can one not be disturbed? Srila Prabhupada says, if he engages in hearing and chanting about the Lord. Also, in one place, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the alternative for sex. What can replace sex? What do you think? The highest enjoyment in the material world. What can replace it? Kirtan? Yes. Chanting and dancing. So do you believe that? You can say, come on, it can, it's a different experience. Kirtan is nice, but, But actually, Srila Prabhupada said this. He said here that alternative for suffering is hearing and chanting, and also alternative for highest enjoyment is hearing and chanting. But we don't have such a huge faith in hearing and chanting. We think that, that's nice, but, real life is something else. Like pious people come here, throw some coins, bring some fruits, pray to God not to go to hell. Pious people, they add God to their life, but this is not the main focus. A little bit spice, maybe a little bit God-fearing, a little bit of religion. Like some people add yoga and they think they are spiritual. They add yoga to their life. But for us, devotional service is the goal of life. Yesterday one friend asked me from America. He used to be a director of a company and now he's traveling around the world looking for something. He was a volunteer at Villa Vrindavan and we had nice conversations, intelligent man, relatively young. So he asked me, he said that he was reading Prabhupada's Gita and Prabhupada translates some verse and it says devotional service, and then he read another translation of the Bhagavad Gita, the same verse, and he says, it says right work. Right work, instead of devotional service. So the speculative translator translated it like this. And then I explained to him the difference between the pious activities and transcendental activities. They bring different results. So people don't understand that. They think that pious activities are spiritual activities. But pious activities and impious activities bring material results. sadhus are forgetful of the material miseries because they are filled with Krishna consciousness, and ordinary conditioned souls do just the opposite. Being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, they are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. But devotee who always engages with the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. So do you have any questions? Yes? You decide who will go first.
Okay, first. Yeah, as you said, like the replacement for these things is like for kirtan, and sometimes if you go to holy town and with nice people there and nice kirtan there, then you can really experience it, that the kirtan is like so ecstatic and the whole atmosphere, you like exploding and you really get a higher taste. So I'm seeking for this higher taste which I'm getting in the holy town. It's very difficult to get this here or somewhere, so you have some idea what I can do?
You can collect money and go to a holy place.
Yeah, but
Maybe I can give you a donation also. I mean, so that I cannot give you the whole amount, but maybe part. So, if something inspires you, you can go. If you are not forced to be here. Don't tell yourself a story that you have to be here. You don't have to be here. You can go anywhere. You are free to go, but you just have to make some effort. And maybe not like a huge effort, some effort to make some money. And go where you will be inspired. I mean, some devotees, they are inspired by Indra Prabhu, and they go there and they play with him, and then forever they play Mridanga after that, everywhere. So, but here also you can become a great golden dancer. You can become like a steady kirtaniya. Madhava Prabhu, his residence is here. He's from Mauritius. So here in the library, once we met by accident, and he told me, he said, when I started, there was nobody coming to my kirtans, 1-2 people, and I complained to Indra Prabhu that you told me to chant, to sit and chant, but nothing is happening. So he told him, just continue. And he followed this dutifully, and now you know that hundreds and sometimes thousands of people are so inspired by his kirtan. So he just continued sitting and singing. So in Switzerland there is a need for a lot of kirtaniyas. You can do kirtan yoga, you can do... How Srila Prabhupada started alone in the park. Nobody was there, then gradually people started coming. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that if nobody is there, we will preach to 4 walls, and Krishna will be pleased. So you are chanting for Krishna's pleasure. Sometimes people are here, sometimes not. I have given not so many, but I have given classes where only Pujari was there. Sometimes even Pujari is not there, because when they finish, they leave. But still class is going on. But if you want to get charged with Kirtan Shakti, you go any place where Kirtan is strong. Now we will go to Radha Deshmelos, there will be a lot of Kirtan. And you can just go from Mela to Mela and do a heart wash, as Sachinananda Swami says, with Kirtan, heart wash. And if you have even a little taste for Kirtan, and I believe you do, then try to grow it. Try to grow it by doing what? By taking prasadam. I'm joking. Grow your taste for kirtan. Grow your taste for kirtan by doing more kirtan. Just more kirtan, more hours of kirtan. You can read about kirtan, but reading about kirtan is not the same as performing kirtan. It's just to inspire you to do kirtan. And when you become inspired, slowly people will start looking. So why are you so inspired? You say, well, you can join me. You will also become inspired because holy name is inspiring. Holy name is not different from Krishna. And Krishna is never morose. Krishna is always jolly. So you can do so many things. So you can come to me later. We can make a practical plan how to go from here to there. And Kirtan Yoga is becoming more and more popular. We had a concert recently, last week, I forgot which day, Friday, in Schaffhausen, in a Vidya Yoga Center. And the leaflet was Kirtan Yoga. So Kirtan Yoga is very popular even in Switzerland. And you can do Kirtan Yoga programs. You can just find, like Krishna Das, he only has a tabla player. He doesn't have a whole band, and whole management. Like rock bands have trucks bringing their equipment, like 10 trucks. Krishna Das has a harmonium and one tabla player, and he's making a lot of kirtan, different kinds of kirtan. So you can find a tabla player or a mridanga player, and if you are lucky, you can have also a karata player, and just lead kirtan. Sing on the street if it's not too cold, maybe, or sing in yoga clubs, vegetarian clubs, any place where people are bored. They are bored with the movies. They are bored with so many things. So kirtan is something interesting. You can preach about the holy name. I can give you a book which explains scientifically the power of sound. Amazing. One devotee did research and he's presenting scientifically. There is so many things that you can do if you have just a little taste of kirtan. If I wouldn't do coaching, I would just do music for Krishna. But coaching somehow is so much coaching, counseling, mentoring. It's so much needed. Probably there is more kirtaniyas than mentors in ISKCON. So we have to fill the gap. Okay? Next.
Sometimes I understand the importance of hearing and chanting, and sometimes I can absorb more, sometimes less. But I was thinking recently that what can I do if my mind is obsessed by something which doesn't allow me to be ready to receive, for example, spiritual sound vibration, or be ready to chant. How to deal
Something
with
material or spiritual?
the obsession?
Yeah,
Material?
material. That's dangerous. But yeah, that's, this is not an easy situation. What I advise devotees is to develop a spiritual inner dialogue. So the mind has a proposal, and then you say, my dear mind, what kind of proposal is this? Aren't you ashamed? So you treat the mind as a person who is always with you, and it can be your friend or it can be your enemy. So depending how you treat that person, this person is either helpful or harmful. And you develop this conversation. And there is two phrases that we very much neglect in ISKCON. My dear Lord and my dear mind. If you use these two phrases, you can have quite a lot of control of the mind. My dear Lord, please help me control the mind. my dear mind, please cooperate in my devotional advancement. And the mind may be shocked with this friendly approach. But I didn't take this from some psychological book. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has one book which 90% of the verses start with my dear mind. Sometimes he even calls his mind my dear brother. My dear brother. So, and of course you have to choose what you want. If you as a soul decide I want to enjoy material world, then no one can stop you. Krishna will help you. Krishna will help you with that. But if you understand that the material sense gratification is the source of misery, at least theoretically, then you try to have such an inner dialogue that will help you to engage in spiritual activities. So saying no to Maya is a big, big challenge for all of us every day. All kinds of Maya. It can be more subtle, more gross. We are tested all the time. We are tested all the time. I just sent to Suri Prabhu a choice map. It's a simple tool where you have you can choose to go up or you can choose to go down. So the explanation is a little bit different, but for us it's very clear that this is also like you can go path passion and ignorance and path of goodness and pure goodness. You can choose. So we are exposed to choices every single minute of the day. And depending how we choose, we will get results. And therefore, I recommend this powerful spiritual inner dialogue. Then practically you are always living with a mentor, living with a coach, living with someone who has your success in mind. And you can become very strong. And it's a question of practice. We have to practice this. It doesn't come overnight. Okay? Yes?
I was in Mayapur for many years, but if I felt some troubles, whatever, we had the good fortune to go just to a Gorarti. After the Gorarti, everything was gone. So Kirtan, dancing, also this dancing, this is so powerful. Even if we don't feel a moment to dance, just dance. It will, Radhanath Swami example, he said once, if we don't dance, we will not fully understand Krishna consciousness.
Very nice. I like it.
So it's very amazing. So, personally I suffer Sunday evening if we sit by Gorarti. It's a suffering for me. So
Me too.
Well, you can get up and dance.
yeah, we dance, we do it. But if everyone dances, we can get much more out of it, much more mercy, and exactly these things can help you to let go from the material attachments or something. It's something very important. And something else maybe to your class, my story what just happened, it's a kind of fitting. So I had Wednesday my surgery, and last Wednesday, and so I had to go in a room, we had to give all stuff, the neck beads, and so I had to give away, and another lady was also there. So she, half hour, we got some, some medicine to calm down a little bit, and we was both half hour quiet, and then suddenly she started to say, lamented, oh my God, they took everything away from us, and now what we have, we only can wait. And I was doing actually Manasa Seva. I went on Parikram, I was in Vrindavan, Marka Brajman Parikram, I did Navamit Parikram, I went to Chavanapuri, I took baths in Radhakund, Shyamakund. So I was actually myself, I was totally happy. I had finally time in one sense. I had nothing to do, everything is taken away, the cell phone, whatever. So then I felt, we as devotee or inspired devotees, we are very lucky what Srila Prabhupada gave us, how we can absorb the mind. So it was Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So, and the better part comes now, what happened after. So I got to another room, which they check everything, and I had actually totally cold. I was shaking, and then his nurse, she was actually the general aesthetic, because I got this general aesthetic. She prepared everything. So I was a kind of shaking, I guess, not only cold, also some fear was there. And this is good to see. Still, I'm on the bodily platform, I have to be more conscious. So anyway, I had my tilak on. And then she said, oh, you have here something yellow. I will wash this now. I will clean this away. And then I said, a moment, I'm a Hare Krishna. I would very much appreciate if you can leave this. And then she said, Krishna, he's not blue. And I said, yes, he's blue. He is a herder here. She said also, and then I said, yeah, he is the blue cowherd boy. And then it was so amazing. We talked also about the philosophy, but all the time it came back to Krishna, how beautiful. And so then she said on one point, so now please you calm down, you just remember something nice, something beautiful. Why you don't remember Krishna, the blue boy? like this, I went to the opera room.
Amazing.
I went quick actually in ecstasy there. She told me she will be all the time with me. She gave me also this general
Anesthetic.
Yeah, she gave. And it was amazing.
So this is a living example of what is written in this purport, how devotees don't experience misery. So thank you very much. Wonderful story. Okay, so any other question? Yeah?
Why is so difficult to forgive? When somebody hurt us, and we cannot understand why, then it's so difficult to forgive them. Even we understand, we are not on the bodily platform, the soul is always in ecstatic love. Even the mind likes to destroy himself, not to forgive them.
The question is why it is so difficult to forgive. My understanding is that because of ignorance. We don't understand what's really happening. Who is acting here, what's happening, why it is happening. But if we have spiritual knowledge, we understand that it's not an accident that this person hurt me. I hurt him in the past life, and Krishna is controlling everything, so Krishna is allowing this to happen. So it has nothing to do with that person. It's just what I need to experience, because Krishna wants me to learn something. And if we see it in this way, then we don't even get angry. We don't even get very upset. We say, okay, what do I need to learn from this? If there was not this person, then other person would be sent to give me trouble so that I can learn something. So why should I get angry at him? He's just an instrument in the hands of my karma. And in this way we can be peaceful. Also, another thing is that yesterday in the purport to the two verses from the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 13 and 14, Srila Prabhupada mentions verse from the Bhagavatam, Tatenu Kampam Susamikshamano Punjane Vatma Kritam Vipakam. It's 10, 14, 8, 14th chapter of the 10th canto, text 8. It says that devotee always thinks that he gets less than he deserves. So this is also helpful for forgiveness, that Krishna reduces our karma. Devotee gets much less suffering than he deserves. And I was studying in many places in Prabhupada's teachings by the help of Vedabase about this verse. And Srila Prabhupada gives an incredible example. He says, imagine you go to the court and the judge will fine you. He wants to fine you $1 million because you made some criminal offense. And he says, okay, pay only few pence. So this is how much less we get. This is his Prabhupada's example. So you were supposed to pay $1 million, and he says, just give a few coins to pay, and you're free. So if this is the case, then we don't get angry. We don't have nothing to complain about, and it's much easier to forgive. Okay, we have to stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Grace of Guru.